What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to Philly with John Marks on PHLY. What's up, everybody? As always, brought to you by, presented by Bet Parks. Love Bet Parks. Eagles 3.5-point favorites over the Giants on Sunday up in the Meadowlands. We'll be talking about that. Still some leftover stuff from the Eagles and Nick Sirianni. We'll to that in a second. If you hear my voice, I'm filled in a house with 3 young children that are always sick. So I am non-contagiously suffering from strep throat because after I got off the air yesterday, I went right to the doctor, got the strep test, boom, and came up positive. So I have had 3 doses of penicillin. So I actually am feeling better today, but the throat hasn't actually bounced back. So Tyler Zuli, my producer, when he starts having children, is the first one's coming very soon. You just wait. You can't avoid it. Can't avoid the sicknesses, the strep throats, well, you won't get the ear infections, but you'll have ear infections to deal with. Lots of fun. All right. Well, I want to make this clear right from the start that we're not going to spend an hour today on Nick Sirianni and complaining about Nick Sirianni and Nick Sirianni this, Nick Sirianni that. We'll play his apology coming up in a second when Tyler gives me the heads up that we have it, or the thumbs up that we have it. But I felt like this before the season started, and I feel like this even more now. And I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've been an Eagles fan my entire life, so I know how we operate. I know our mentality. And when I say our, I don't necessarily mean me. I'm just saying the city and the fan base as a whole. Nick Sirianni, when he didn't get fired and he came back, was put in a very difficult situation because he was stripped of his play calling duties. He was stripped of his offense. They brought in somebody from the outside to run their own offense and was given this label of a CEO head coach, which left most fans asking and media asking, well, what exactly is his role? Exactly what is he going to do? So Nick now has to actually prove to people, hey, I am an important part of this team. Hey, I am a big part of the reason why this team is winning. But it's also difficult to prove that. And when you lose, it becomes his fault right away. So Nick Sirianni in this no-win situation, either he wins the Super Bowl or comes close. It becomes very clear that they're a good football team and they're a well-coached football team. Unless he does that convincingly, everybody's going to call for his job, including me. I mean, really, I have to be honest with myself and say, all right, as an Eagle fan, do I believe that Nick Sirianni gives the Eagles the best chance to win a Super Bowl? Because the talent's there on offense. I know they're lacking a little bit on defense. They're not that far away. They have some good young pieces that are only going to get better. So if I'm being honest and I'm asking myself, does Nick Sirianni really give the Eagles a competitive advantage every week as their head coach? It's either, well, I don't know or no. Because no one's really sure exactly what he's doing. The one thing that he did do well, and that you can say, because in 2022, they went to the Super Bowl, and they were that close to winning a Super Bowl. He was that close to being a head coach that won a Super Bowl. Think about that. Went back to the playoffs. Now we are where we are this year. We're probably reacting harshly to a coach that had his team that close to winning a Super Bowl. Probably. When I say probably, I mean we probably are. But I can't help the way that I feel, and I can't help the way that it looks pretty clear to me. But I feel like we have to give him a chance. And to come right out of the gate, really negatively with Nick Sirianni, from before training camp to right now, we're almost waiting to pounce. So anything that goes wrong, Sirianni, fire him. Right? And if they lose to the Browns on Sunday, I'm not telling you that he's not gone, because I think the Eagles and Jeffrey Lurie also sense that this is a situation that could get bad pretty quick. and they fell apart at the end of last year. They're in their last 12 games, they're 4-8. But at some point, everybody's got to just take a deep breath and calm down. A product of what you saw yesterday with on Sunday with Nick Sirianni was that there is a lot of negativity, and he is hearing it from the crowd and from the stands probably more than he has as a head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's hearing the yells. He's hearing fire Nick. He's hearing more yapping from the crowd, which you can hear, which Eagles fans are very loud and obnoxious towards the coach. Imagine what Andy Reid heard in his days. The difference was he's a professional and he would never react to those kind of things. It doesn't mean that they don't hear it, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. And Nick gets paid a lot of money to deal with it. But he also, as we know, is a very emotional person. So when they win and some guy's been yelling at him all game or whatever happened, then he reacts differently than an Andy Reid or really any other head coach in the National Football League. But it doesn't mean that right now Nick's not going through it, because he is. He was in the Super Bowl in 2022. He was back in the playoffs last year. And now he feels like that he's in a no-win situation and he's going to get whacked and the entire city wants him gone. Right? Like, if I was Nick Sirianni, I think I'd feel a certain way about that. Again, nearly winning a Super Bowl 2 years ago, back in the playoffs last year. Looking at it from his perspective, right? So he had to apologize yesterday. I think it was pretty clear that he was going to come and apologize. So here's Nick Sirianni. This is on Jeff Skversky's Twitter from the press conference yesterday.
Every time after the game, every time I haven't talked to him yet today. I know how supportive Mr. Lurie has been through everything. I would say this about that. You know, what I was really doing, I was trying to bring energy yesterday, enthusiasm yesterday, and I'm sorry and disappointed on how my energy was directed at the end of the game. And you know, my energy should be all in on coaching, motivating, right, and celebrating with our guys. And so, you know, that's, you know, and I got to have better wisdom and discernment of when to use that energy, and that wasn't the time. And so, you know, we have the best fans in the world. There's no place like this, and they show up and show out no matter where they are, where we are. I can't, you know, Brazil, Arizona, it doesn't matter. New Orleans. And, you know, in that game, too, that they had two, you know, it was loud, and I thought it was really loud, energetic, and those two false starts that the Browns got that forced a field goal instead of that. Who knows?
I don't need to, it's okay. I don't need to hear any more of it. I got you, Nick. I got you. He apologized. I mean, I honestly don't care. I don't. It's obviously he can't do that. And he didn't seem all that keen on apologizing, or like maybe that. Honestly, I don't care. It's over with. The press conference is a whole nother thing. So let me read this. There was somebody came out on Reddit and said that, hey, you know, it was me. He was yelling at me, and he told the story of that. It was about, he was early in the game. He was telling him, run Saquon Barkley, and he yelled back at him, I will. So at the end of the game, he was telling him, see, I told you we ran Saquon Barkley. Like, whatever. I don't know if that was the case. I don't know what the interaction was. I said this yesterday, and I believe it even more right now. If he would have just went to the press conference on Sunday and said, hey, like, I heard that cameras got me yelling into the stands. I was just going back and forth with the guy that I was talking to earlier in the game. It really wasn't a big deal. It was all in good fun. I was excited we got a win. That's that. I think it'd be over. It would have long been over by now. But they didn't do that. And they prepped him like he actually was attacking a fan and yelling at a fan in the stands yesterday. They prepped him like this is a really bad, big deal. So you better go out there and say all these things to try to squash it, right? And take your kids up there or whatever. I don't think the intentions of Nick Sirianni was bad. It didn't even really, if you watch it, like it really wasn't even that bad. But it was a taunt. And to me, it looked like a taunt. Like, oh, what are you going to say now? What are you going to say now? That's, to me, what it looked like. It's not the end of the world. You just can't do it. Just can't do it. So Nick apologized. As far as I'm concerned, it's over with. But I do feel, in large part, feel bad for Nick because it's going to be difficult for him to work his way out of this situation, keeping his job, getting his popularity back in Philadelphia, making this Eagles team a true Super Bowl contender again. Because I don't see this team being a true Super Bowl contender again. All right, we have so that's that. Brandon Lee Gowton's going to join us coming up here at 8:25 with the latest on the Eagles. We'll get some leftovers the day after. But some big Sixers news happened last night, and we're going to go to headlines with Tyler Zulli for that and a lot more. A lot of headlines today. What's up, Tyler?
Hey, what's going on, John? So, yeah, we do have a lot. There was a game yesterday, and I don't think anybody cares about the game specifically. It was a preseason game, and the Sixers do win 104-89 against the Atlanta Hawks. But reality is the more important, the more pressing issue is the health of Paul George. Paul George exits the game in the first half of this one, does not return to the bench in the second half. And they are calling it a lower leg injury, or a leg injury, I should say, lower body injury. There are, I know, shots from the game that are kind of going around. You can kind of see his knee buckle a little bit. But I thought this one here in particular was kind of the telling shot of what happened exactly and why Paul George did not return to the game. So this was this is kind of the inverse shot of Paul George yesterday against the Atlanta Hawks.
Ball number 8. You see it. Right.
And if you missed it, we'll play that one more time for you. Just take a look at that left leg and left knee. 8.
You see it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of watch it buckle backwards there.
Which is why they're terming it a hyperextended knee. But hyperextended knee is, I was trying to see where I had read this. It's not an actual diagnosis. It's just a term for the injury. So he's probably going to get an MRI. The doctors are going to look at it. He didn't seem concerned about it after the game, or at least that's what he said. But it's certainly not a great. It's certainly not a great start to two. So now you have two superstars that are injury prone and have knee issues already.
Yeah, so they're calling it a hyperextension of the left knee, okay. And that is kind of the news on Paul George. Now there is news not just on Paul George, but also on Joel Embiid as well. And this was brought to our attention yesterday. This was we have this graphic from us, but of course the quote comes from Joel Embiid himself. Joel says, "If I had to guess, I would probably never play back-to-backs the rest of my career." Now, this was he was asked about, trying to stay healthy for the playoff and trying to stay healthy for a playoff push. And effectively, he said, we got to do whatever I can or whatever we can to get me to the playoffs healthy, to get us to the playoffs healthy. And if that includes me not playing back-to-backs anymore, then I'm not going to play back-to-backs anymore. But Joel Embiid basically said that he may never play a back-to-back in his career again. I believe the Sixers have 14 back-to-backs this upcoming season.
Right. When you look at the headline, if you're anti-load management, if you're hey, these guys should be playing back-to-backs, they shouldn't be baby. Look at Michael Jordan, look at Kobe Bryant. It was important to those guys that they played in every game. Fans to come out and see him and everything else. Joel Embiid doesn't have the body of Kobe Bryant. Joel Embiid's 7'2", and has bad knees. All right. So guess what? He's probably not going to play back-to-backs. And the reality is, what are you trying to get him to play every year? 60 games, 65 games?
I think 60 is a great number. If he plays 60 of the 82 and you win. See, the thing is, the number is fine, but then you have a certain amount of games within those 60 that you really need to win, because the assumption is, let's say they do play 22 without him. What are you asking for? I'm looking for maybe 12-10, 11-11, right around 500 without Joel Embiid. So if you're asking for 10 to 12 wins in a 22-game sample size, then the question becomes, how many of the 60 are you asking the Sixers to win? Is it fair to ask for 40? 35 to 40? I think you probably have to, right?
You need 40. Like that's how you can allow him to miss that many games. Yeah.
So if they go 40-20 and they go 10-12 in the 22 he doesn't play, that's a 50-win season.
I mean, the reality is I don't know if it's possible, but he has to be healthy once the playoffs start, because the playoffs are a whole nother season. Those series go forever. The physical and mental strain that those series put on players and teams and coaches and everything else, it's a whole nother season. So, like, at this point, why wouldn't you try to change something different?
Sure.
It looks bad when he says, I'm never going to play back-to-backs again in my career. And it's easy to have the Twitter reaction, reply, retweet of the modern-day athlete. This guy's soft. He's not going to play back-to-back. Physically, I don't think he can. Like, if you want him to play, let's say you want him to play 65 games. You had said there's 15 back-to-backs or 14 back-to-backs.
I think it's like 14-ish
So
back-to-backs.
if he misses 14, they play 82. So that leaves him with 68, right? So if he misses another 6 games because of injuries, that puts him at 62 games. The reality is, even if he played back-to-backs, he's still going to be load managed, and he's still probably going to play about the same amount of games. You're hoping to avoid major injury. You're hoping to avoid wear and tear. You're hoping that by the time the playoffs start, he's physically capable of being the Joel Embiid that we see in the regular season. That's it. So I don't think it's crazy at all, and I think it makes a world of sense, by the way.
Logistically speaking, it's the right call. I think people are going to be upset about it in nature because it was very blunt, it was very truthful, and effectively, the Sixers are going to punt on games this year. Good teams punt on games throughout the NBA. It's 82 games. I think that you see it with superstars all the time. Now, does it always translate to success? Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. But the one year, I'm pretty sure Cleveland basically punted like half a season, finished as the 4 seed. Now, granted, they had LeBron, but went back to the NBA Finals because they knew that they could once they got in. I'm not asking to punt an entire season, but if you're giving up 7, 8, 9 games across the course of a year, as long as you're able to have the discourse of, I don't care about individual awards anymore. I don't care about the MVP. I don't care about scoring titles. I care about winning a championship. Having a healthy Joel Embiid in the postseason is paramount to this team's success.
You can also pick which back-to-back he's going to miss. So if there's a more challenging game, or there's a primetime game, because I believe Joel Embiid, the Sixers should have him in there for primetime games for big games.
Well, so does the NBA. They're starting to crack down on that.
Yeah, so like I get it.
But if it's Tuesday night and you're coming off a back-to-back and you're playing the Charlotte Hornets,
that's the perfect time to do it. We have a lot to get to, so we'll spend time on this later because again, the headline makes it a lot worse than when you actually take a breath and think about it. It's like, that's not crazy to say at all. All right,
let's dive into the ALCS and NLCS. Excuse me. NLCS is now tied at 1 game apiece. The New York Mets end up scoring 7 on the Dodgers. They jump out to a 1-0 lead in the first, add 5 in the second. Edwin Diaz made things a little bit dicey, loaded the bases in the bottom of the 9th, but he gets out of it without any kind of issues. Gave up 2 runners in the bottom of the 9th, but gets out of it without any issues. The Mets win 7-3. Series comes back to New York, tied at 1 game apiece. The Yankees also take a 1-0 series lead over the Guardians. Yesterday, they scored 3 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, add 1 in the 7th. Alex Cobb didn't get out of the 3rd for the Guardians. Kind of expected him to only pitch about 3 or 4. Carlos Rodon was nasty last night. I don't know if you watched any of that game. Flipping between that and the Monday Night Football and whatnot. Carlos Rodon was nasty. 9 strikeouts. The slider was just wipeout. He gave up just 3 hits, 1 earned run. The Yankees take a 1-0 series lead over the Cleveland Guardians, and they will play Thursday. They will play tonight again for Game 2. Thursday will be Game 3 in Cleveland. The Dodgers and the Mets will get back at it tomorrow in New York. So the Mets tied 1-1. Yankees up 1-0 in the ALCS.
Jets lose. Aaron Rodgers throws a late interception. He's on the sideline, and he's got like his hand on his head, and he's got a bloody L on his hand. It's just, you can't make this stuff up, man. He's becoming like this tragic figure.
Yeah, I mean, they're not very good. I'll put it that they've got some skill position players. Breece Hall is nice. Garrett Wilson is nice.
Yeah, they got a ton of talent.
Man, they just are not putting things together right now. By the way, wanted to tell everybody that our headlines are brought to us by the Glatt Hair Restoration. Excuse me. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. They'll help you regain your confidence. Just visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started.
Yeah, you give them a call. All right, BLG, Brandon Lee Gowton's going to join us coming up here in a second. But we got to talk about my people, Central City Toyota, in the heart of University City. My Uncle Jamie is the general manager, longtime general manager of Central City Toyota. And he also is the star of Uncle Jamie's college football locks of the week on Thursdays, which was 2-1 on this first week. He nailed it He nailed the Penn State game. He nailed the Oregon game, and he was totally off on the Texas game. But anyway, he knows his college football. He'll join us again coming up on Thursday. But we're talking about an amazing selection of certified vehicles, cars under $12,000. And they have a one-price approach, no pricing games. Everything's transparent because they're not looking to rip you off. They're looking to make you a lifetime customer. 55 years in business, and they're in the heart of University City. Uncle Jamie and his amazing staff. I've been a customer for 20 years since I bought my Corolla in 2005. Up until right now, drive a Sienna, drive a Highlander. It's perfect. So if you're working in the city and you're looking for service, all right, this is the perfect thing to do. Because I know I got to do stuff on the weekends. Unless, go see my Uncle Jamie, and you can drop your car off to get service. They'll drive you to your office and then pick you up where you are. Or how about this? They provide pickup and delivery for service on an appointment basis. So listen, just go to your office. They'll come pick your car up, service it, drop it back off. That's an appointment basis. CentralCityToyota.com. Again, if you're looking to upgrade your ride, Central City Toyota has an amazing selection of certified vehicles and cars under $12,000. All right, the heart of University City, Central City Toyota. Check them out. CentralCityToyota.com. All right, let's talk about Glatt Hair Restoration for a second. I'm actually going tomorrow up to see the hair team at Glatt Hair Restoration. And if you look at my hair, I'm getting my hair cut today. It's getting pretty long. My beard is disgusting. This was a playoff beard, so I was growing it, and I was waiting to get my hair cut, which I'm getting today. So I'm getting the haircut today. Going up, we're going to do a couple things. Going to do a couple videos for Glatt Hair Restoration. But yeah, like this is it. I like when my hair gets a little bit longer. Like, look at this. This isn't a great natural hairline. I'm not like Anthony Gargano with great natural hair. No. I was going bald. I even shaved my head at one point. So I'm like, no, I can't do it anymore. I'm tired of it. And I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good. Glatt Hair Restoration. If you've been worried about losing your hair, if you heard me talking about Glatt for many, many years now and you want more information, you can reach out to me on any of my social medias. My DMs are open for everybody. Or email me. It's at John Marks Media, JONMARKS Media. That's on socials or johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. I'll take you through the process. If you go to my Instagram page, you can see a lot of the process from when I had it done a few years back. I take pictures of what I looked like before. I take pictures of what I looked like after. I took pictures the day after the procedure, the day of the procedure. So you get a good idea of what you're talking about. But with Glatt Hair Restoration, it's not just about the restoration. Because science in 2024, if you're starting to lose your hair and you're like, hey, like I'm starting to lose my hair, I want to save it right now. It's perfect. Glatt Hair Restoration has something for you. There's a lot of new technology out there, non-invasive treatments, vitamin supplementation, PRP and stem cell. I've used all these things. And then hair restoration surgery. Each patient receives a complimentary one-on-one consultation. So give them a call today. Bald's now optional. 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000. Glatt Hair isn't just about restoration. It's about innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. And each member of their hair team, which I've known over a decade, have over 30 years of experience in the business. 610-980-4000 or GLAT Hair, Glatt Hair, MCTR.com. All right, there you go. I feel like I'm still like in bizarro world. I think a lot of that's the strep throat that I have. But it was that press conference, which was just one of the more weird things that I've seen in recent memory, probably since one of Doug's press conferences. And this guy right here has been, I don't know, maybe he keeps track of how many press conferences he's covered as an Eagles reporter. Brandon Lee Gowton is the man over at Bleeding Green Nation. He joins us again, as he's joined us many times in the past. BLG, are you there, my friend? No, he's not there? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, well, he's getting him right now. Yeah, and like I had pledged today on the show, Nick Sirianni apologized. They won the game on Sunday. The Eagles screwed up and made this a much bigger thing than it needed to be made. Don't blame the media. Don't blame me, right? Like, they're the ones that sent him out there, and he was clearly, like, stressing out about what happened at the end of the game. And then his kids are up there, and he's talking to his kids and talking to his kids, and he's doing the crazy Nick Sirianni where he's talking in circles, and he's got all these stories. The post-game press conference is supposed to be where he's asked questions and he gives answers on what happened in the game. He was rambling on and on and on, and he was doing a training camp press conference where he's talking about guys, and reporters were trying to write stories on guys. So he's just like going on and on about players and AJ and this and that. No, we want information from the game, coach. So, man, I don't know. I don't know exactly what is going on. Let me just text Brandon here and say, hey, you having?
Yeah, we're working on it now. Just the connectivity issue, but I do have him. Just waiting on him to so we can see him is what I'm getting at. I have him. We're just working through some things as we always do.
All right. Yeah, as we always seem to be doing. Well, I mean, if I need to get some Hubba Bubba bubble gum and chew on it, because duct tape and bubble gum seem to be holding up our operation in the last 2 weeks. Poor Tyler. Every day it's
you and I have had to play like MacGyver for the last 2 weeks now.
And I'm gonna blame Brandon Lee Gowton because he's also been a part of this before. I think he might have some type of weird energy.
Is he personally sabotaging us?
I don't think it's sabotage. He just must. Is he using net zero internet or something in his house? What are we using? Net zero?
Oh, we might be on net -1 at this point.
Numbers net zero.
For $4 a month, you might get internet.
Yeah, it pretty much was like that. It was like, but you may not get it, but it's cheap. And that's when people are using discs for AOL in their computer and their dial-up computer. But all right, well, BLG will be here in a second. Eagles and Giants. I said this yesterday about the Giants. I'll watch a Giants game, and they never end up looking terrible an entire game, like within drives. So I'll watch a drive, and I caught myself doing this they play Sunday night on Sunday night's game, and Daniel Jones will make a couple of really nice throws. He'll make a couple of really nice runs. He'll avoid some pressure in the pocket. They have some skill guys on this team. Their offensive line seems like it's always a work in progress. And then he throws an interception in the red zone, and it's like, well, Jesus. And you'll be saying to yourself, well, if they win too many games and they don't pick high enough to get a quarterback, are they bringing him back? The Giants have not been horrible this year. They really haven't. I know they lost. They only scored 7 points in their last game. But, like, honestly, for all those that were looking for an impressive win against the Browns, you didn't get an impressive win against the Browns. You got kind of like an win against the Browns. It was a win. I wouldn't have been in here yesterday minus the Nick Sirianni stuff. I wouldn't have been totally attacking the Eagles. But I wouldn't have been raving about their win over the Browns. Brandon Lee Gowton of Bleeding Green Nation joins us. Many years on the beat of the Philadelphia Eagles. What's up, BLG?
Hey, Johnny Marks. How's it going?
So it was one of the more weird endings of a game into press conferences that I can remember in a really long time. I know at the end of Doug's last year, we got in the real bizarro world with Doug and some of the questions and answers that he had. And it's starting to look a little bit like that with Nick. But what was your whole take on everything that happened from when the Eagles clinched the game and Sirianni's yelling at the fans to when the press conference is over to yesterday where he's made to apologize?
That press conference was one of the more bizarre press conferences, probably the most bizarre I probably ever attended since really doing this since 2013. So over 10 years now, talking to multiple people who witnessed that press conference afterwards. The words deranged, on the brink, unhinged were coming up. That was a strange experience. I kept looking around the room during that Nick Sirianni press conference, like, am I the only one seeing this? Like, this is strange. And look, I've been critical of Nick Sirianni, but like, it was to the point where, and the totality of everything, the game, the shaved head, just the whole combination of everything, it just really made me wonder, like, is this guy okay? We have an article about this up on bleedinggreennation.com, and like, I didn't write it, but I was feeling the same question. I was like, is this guy all right? It was all very strange. And look, I mean, paired with, the poor performance on the field, it's just not really confidence inspiring stuff.
Here's what I think happened. He gets in, and somebody from the Eagles tells him, yo, cameras got you yelling at Eagles fans and taunting Eagles fans. And he totally has an anxiety attack. He has an, oh, bleep, what have I done? And they start telling him, all right, you got to do this. You got to do that. You got to do this. You got to say this. You got to say that. And he just totally freaked out. Because, like, I don't think Nick's, I like Nick. I think Nick's a good guy. Bringing the kids up there made it that much worse. And then, like, the back and forth where somebody asks about A.J. Brown, and he's going, oh, yeah, like he wants to be A.J. Brown. Like, you love A.J. Brown. You love A.J. Brown, right? And he's up there cursing with the kids there. Like, BLG, I had to stop watching it because it was so hard to watch.
Yeah.
I like everything was so bad. I've never seen anything like it.
I'm a nervous laugher. So like I was like laughing a little bit, not in like a way where I was like making fun of him, but like I felt so uncomfortable watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, like this is not going well. I feel strange being here. Strange situation. Yeah, the kids thing, there's been a lot of talk about that. I mean, my take on that is just that like that's not something he does. I've seen him at many press conferences where he'll bring out one of his kids, sure, but like unless I'm mistaken, I don't think he's brought up like his whole family like that since like the NFC Championship game that they won. If I'm remembering correctly, I have to double check on that. But like the whole thing was weird. I think that theory of yours could be good. I mean, there's no way he didn't know. Like that's the PR's job is to let Nick Sirianni know what he's going to be asked about. So there's no chance that he didn't know that. And I did think it took a little bit more time than usual for him to actually get out to the presser. Usually Nick is really good about that. He gets out pretty much like right away as soon as he's done talking to the team in the locker room. So yeah, a very unusual day at the link.
All right. Well, I mean, overall, if I'm grading the win, I mean, I want to say a B-. They did win. It was not impressive. There was a blocked field goal that I can't really blame the Eagles for. Myles Garrett's just a freak athlete, right? So it's like, all right, it wasn't a convincing win. It wasn't a convincing win. They also could have scored on that last drive, right? So then it would have been a double-digit win, and I don't know if people look at it the same way. It doesn't make me feel any better about this season, but like, Jalen Hurts looked good. The defense played relatively well. That's a historically bad offense for the Browns. But, like, all right, they got to win. They have a lot more to prove. But, like, I wouldn't have totally crapped on them yesterday if this whole Sirianni nonsense didn't happen after the game.
It's very funny how you brought that up. And like, oh, yeah, by the way, they won the game. Like, what should be the most important thing is just like a footnote of what happened at the link on Sunday. I mean, they did need to win. Like, it's just losing to that team would have been unacceptable. It's just they couldn't have done that. The team is so bad. And I can't say I feel more encouraged about the team. And I ran a poll on BGN about this. And with over like 2,000 people voting, we only have 15% who feel encouraged about that. The Eagles' outlook after the game versus 85% who feel discouraged. And I think that's been obviously a lot of the discourse that matches. Look, I mean, it's just another game where they haven't scored in the first quarter. It's 7 straight games now. The only team in the NFL has not scored in the first quarter. That Browns team was missing their top 3 safeties. They were banged up elsewhere. They were missing Jordan Hicks, old friend, starting linebacker. Like, that's not the most amazing. They still have some good players, but it's not the most.
Yeah, there's no reason to believe everything's fine with the Eagles. And it's that honestly bothers me more than other than the kid stuff. Nick Sirianni's answer at the press conference where he's almost bullying you guys into saying, like, no, trust me, it's fine. I'm going to take care of it personally. Don't make a big deal about this. Stop harping on the same thing. I know it's been so many games we haven't scored in the first quarter, but it's fine. I promise. Like, I'm telling you it's fine. Like, okay, then score some points in the first quarter. BLJ, we used to complain about Andy Reid after his first 15. He didn't call plays well. Like, that's where we had a problem. But his first 15 were the best I've ever seen. It's the exact opposite here. The first 15 are the worst 15.
It's pathetic. Like, they have 4 punts and 1 interception. That's what their first drives have produced this year. Most of them were 3 and outs. There was one that wasn't. They picked up like 1 first down, I think. It's been terrible. And to that point, Nick, if I'm responding to Nick now, you brought it up in his voice. Like, you had the bye week. Like, how is this not like when is it going to get fixed? If it's not fixed coming out of the bye, when you have all this extra time to prepare, you're getting healthy, you're at home, you have every reason to like, look at this. And if you want to say, like, oh, Kellen Moore is part of the problem, sure, okay, maybe. But the CEO head coach needs to look at pain points for the team and big areas of problems and come up with solutions or help fix it. So, like, there's every reason self-scouting, should have led to them being able to start a little bit stronger than they did. And it wasn't even like, okay, they came out strong and, like, some kind of weird things happened. No, they, like, ran the ball once. Okay, sure. And then they had, like, 2 difficult pass attempts. It's like, well, maybe how about get some easy passes going? Maybe work Jalen Hurts into a rhythm for once. Like, to see that coming out of the bye like that is what leaves me discouraged. And that's why I'm not going to – why does he deserve the benefit of the doubt? That's the big issue.
Yeah, he doesn't. Update us on injuries, Brandon Lee Gowton. Mailata walking off the field on those crutches was like, this is at least a multiple week injury. And I think they confirmed that yesterday. What does it look like for Mailata, and what other injuries do we have that we should be looking at?
Yeah, for Nick Sirianni to even comment on injuries, which he doesn't really, like, do a whole lot anymore. On Mailata, said he'd be out for a couple of weeks. I think he probably meant more than literally just 2, the way he kind of phrased it like that. So, I'm not going to rule out maybe injured reserve. We'll see for Jordan Mailata. That could mean he, misses at least 4 games. Maybe they're hopeful he could come back for that 4th game, so they don't put him on. We'll see about that. But I think Fred Johnson will probably get the first crack at it. Obviously, that's what the Eagles went with when Lane Johnson missed time. But I think there's kind of a short leash there because Fred Johnson, while I think he's done a decent enough job filling in for both Mailata and Lane Johnson in game, he's had some struggles, and that was really on display in the Bucs game. So maybe you could eventually, and Nick Sirianni didn't rule this out when asked about it, you could move Mekhi Becton from right guard over to left tackle where he's played before, and then have Tyler Steen come in. And Steen, I think, has done a decent job when he's had to play this year at guard. So you could be looking at that. And then with Goddard and Slay, apparently Slay's okay. Seems like he might have a chance to play this week day to day. I don't think we've really heard anything on Goddard yet, who went out early and then just, didn't come back.
Yeah, Goddard, I mean, that's got to be at least a game based on what we've seen from hamstrings. They didn't even try to get him back in the game. So I'd be surprised if he didn't miss additional time. That Mailata injury, and I'm stating the obvious, that's a huge injury, especially if you're talking about more than a game or two, which it certainly looks like and feels like it's going to be. That's a big. Fred Johnson did a good job when he came in that first start. Then they game planned for him and they attacked him, and he wasn't good in that next start. So, I mean, now they know, hey, this is the new left tackle. How do we go after him? And, like, he's a good story, and he's been good depth on this team. It's a whole different story when you're starting, and they're going to be up in New York this weekend, and they're going to attack him right away.
Yeah, Mailata hadn't missed a snap in almost 2 years. Like, he's been an Iron Man for them, played every single snap last year. So, like, and he's a good player. So, yeah, to be missing that is a pretty big deal. And I agree with you. Like, I think Fred Johnson, I think he can help you get through the game. If there's an injury in the game, okay, you can survive. They've done that now twice and won. But, yeah, going into the game as a full-time starter, that's a little bit more questionable. And against that Giants pass rush, that unit looked good. Against the Bengals on Sunday night, that unit looked like Brian Burns is killing it. That unit has juice. So, yeah, that's for years, the Giants pass rush has been inept and weak and nothing to worry about. This year, that's different.
What's going on Bleeding Green Nation right now, Brandon Lee Gowton? Got some hot stuff on there?
We got some analysis from a game where the Eagles did win, in fact, even though it doesn't always feel like that. Got some power rankings coming up here. Figure out where the Eagles rank in relative to the rest of the league. I don't even know if I'm going to raise them or drop them after that game or keep them the same after that kind of performance. And obviously, there's like about 50 articles about Nick Sirianni from different people too. So really everything.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
See ya.
All right, there he is, Brandon Lee Gowton, who is, I don't know if you knew this, he's somewhat taller than me. Just about a foot plus. All right, let's talk about BetParx Sportsbook. That's right, the one and only sportsbook app I would ever recommend. BetParx and BetParx Sportsbook app, an online casino. Right now, Eagles 3.5-point favorites. Sunday up in the Meadowlands. I don't know, man. The Giants, they scored 7 points, but still, I like the Giants are better than I thought they were going to be this year, and they always seem to give the Eagles problems. Anyway, right now they're also offering an amazing 50-1 odds boost on your pick to win this year's Pro Football Championship. All new users who sign up and make a deposit receive a 50-1 super odds boost. BetParks.com has all the terms and conditions. 50-1. So if you think the Birds, you're like, hey, Birds, they'll boost it 50-1. If you like one of the other teams, whoever. And don't forget that they have blackjack, roulette, and craps with a live dealer right there on the BetParks app. So download the BetParks Sportsbook and online casino app right now. 50-1 super odds boost on your pick to win this year's Pro Football Champion. Limited time offer for new customers. So if you've used one of those other apps, come over to BetParks. It's the only one that I recommend. You play for fun. You love to win. You bet. BetParks. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, TrueMark. Check it out. Listen, TrueMark's amazing, including their mobile app, right? Who doesn't use mobile banking these days? If you don't, get the TrueMark. It's amazing. Everything you need right there. Manage your account balances, make deposits, make transfers, everything else. That is available on the TrueMark app. Also, right now, TrueMark Financial's mortgage specialists can offer guidance for loan options and terms. They'll help you assess your finances and credit score to determine borrowing capacity. Housing market's back. You want to get in now. TrueMark Financial. Save for a down payment and budget for closing costs. Check it out. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA as an equal opportunity lender. For more info, visit TrueMark.com/PHLY, PHLYITY. TrueMark.com, and that's TrueMark.com/PHLYITY. Why? Because I said so. That's what I'm always saying to my children. Why, Dad? I said so. That's why. I used to hate that response from my parents.
They used to drive me nuts. And as I sit on the precipice of having a kid, I'm like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's a trump card.
I understand.
Well, there is no trump card. They don't listen anyway.
It's still not the right answer, but it's your ultimate tool. It's your Swiss Army knife of responses.
It is the right answer. I don't feel like explaining why to an 8-year-old because you're not going to care or get what I'm saying anyway. That's really what it is because I said so. Because right now I'm too tired to have to actually explain it to you, and you won't understand anyway, child. All right. So last night, as I mentioned earlier in the program, I was I got sick over the weekend. My wife got sick over the weekend. My daughter got sick over the weekend. You get a sore throat. It's not, you don't think COVID anymore. At least I don't. But I did, we had COVID tests at home, so I took COVID. We didn't have COVID. So it's do I have the flu? Do I have some type of a viral thing or whatever? So, you take the kids to the doctor because you're worried about the kids. I don't really care about me. I'm fine. And she has strep throat. So it's if I was the first one sick and she has exactly what I had, I probably have strep throat. So boom, strep throat, or whatever. So I was coming back from picking up prescriptions, and I'm like, all right, well, let me get the kids Panera. You like Panera, Tyler Zuli? You a Panera?
I can't tell you the last time that I had Panera. To give you an answer on that question, it's been probably years.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember. I think it was probably good in college because
those ramen noodles are good in college.
Everything is good in college, but I'll be honest, I don't think I've been in a Panera in probably 3 or 4 years.
All right. Well, I'm there quite frequently, but I don't ever eat anything from there. So to each his own. It would probably be in the bottom 1% of places that I would choose to eat since I don't eat there. I would rather come home and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or whatever. Anyway, but my kids love the mac and cheese. I was getting my wife soup or whatever. So I'm waiting for the pickup order. And they're busy, so it's taking a little bit longer because, I do the app, whatever. Normally it's waiting for you, but it wasn't done yet. So I'm sitting at a table and I look, do you have the picture in there? Yeah. So I put it out there because it's all right, listen, I don't go in a lot and pay attention to what's going on. But you bust your own table in a Panera Bread. No reasonably thinking person would leave all of their stuff on a table for an employee to come in. There's not waiter or waitress service, right? Tyler, you're supposed to bust your table at a place like that.
I mean, this is something that kind of drives me crazy. And it's funny. I think people recognize it more if you've worked in the food industry. I never actually worked in the food industry, which I'm one of a few, whether you're a teenager or you're in college or maybe you still do, right? I feel like the amount of people who have or do work in the food industry is pretty high.
Sure. Yeah, you're right.
I think there's a level of respect to the people that work there that like you have to not make their jobs harder than it is. You should never make somebody's job harder than it is, no matter where they work. It doesn't matter what industry they're in. If the role within that restaurant is you bust your own table, you take your trash to the trash can and throw it away or whatever. You put, because I think with there, you like stack the bowls, right? And then they come and grab the stack.
Yes,
it's like carts in the shopping center parking lot. You don't just leave the cart. Well, you shouldn't just leave the cart in the middle of the road, right? And yes, somebody goes and gets the carts and collects them all and brings them back inside or whatever. But don't make people's jobs harder than it is. It's not fair to them. They're not your butler. You're not supposed to just sit here and go, well, I'm just going to leave it here. Somebody at the counter will pick it up.
It was because I saw them sitting there and then they left. And then I'm like, all right, did they just go to the bathroom or something? It was a kid. It was a kid and a mom. And the mom was not like an old mom. Probably like younger than me for sure, like 30s or whatever. I'm just trying to understand the mentality of a person that would just be like, all right, let's go, and think that like you're at a regular restaurant where you have a server that comes up or whatever. I got no one brings you the food. You go up to the counter and get it. It's like a cafeteria. You don't leave the tray like it's school. Do you leave the tray on the table and then leave?
Sure.
No, you take the tray, you put the freaking stuff in, you put the forks or whatever, you put them where they're supposed to go, and whatever.
Now, I'm almost to a point where, like, even at a restaurant where you do have a server and they come and collect your plates at the end.
Right. I'm
like a stack guy. Like, I'm going to stack my plates. Give me your plate. You got a little extra food. Dump it on this plate. We'll put it on top. Like, I want to make people have. The food industry is a difficult enough industry to work in because people treat you like crap. You know, you're reliant on tips to make your wages, which is unfair to begin with. And you're relying on other people to be generous. And people just expect you to like wait on them hand and foot, and they get, crappy over the little things like drink, or you didn't bring me a side of ranch or something like that. Like I said, don't make people's jobs harder than it needs to be. Yeah. And in this situation, like, throw the trash out, put the plate on the stack, and then walk out. It takes an extra 12 seconds.
I've never seen it at a Panera before. That's the only reason that I asked. And I was surprised I put it out there, and there were a lot of people who were like, no, it's like optional. You can leave it. Like, okay.
Sure.
I don't know. But
why?
I don't know. Because you can? Because you can be rude? Like, who would do that? I don't know. I was shocked at how many people.
I'm going to say this. I think common decency goes a long way.
Yes.
And it's also become apparent that common decency is not as common as it should be anymore.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've never seen it before. But anyway, so if you right now, if it was lunchtime, Tyler, and you could go anywhere, a place like that, not a sit down restaurant, but a place like that, a lunch place, what would you choose?
So I would probably do Chipotle Qdoba, one of the two.
I was expecting you to say that for some reason.
I would probably do that. I think it's the most filling. I think it's you can make it unhealthy too, but you can make Chipotle and Qdoba healthy, or it's high in sodium obviously, but you do chicken and
there's a lot of options.
Lean stuff, right? You can make. So I would probably do them because I think it's filling. I think it's good for the most part.
It is good,
and as long as they don't go light on the servings, which sometimes they do, but I think if you go at off hours, they're pretty good with it. I would go with a Chipotle / Qdoba.
Good answer. I would go Shake Shack.
Okay.
And Chipotle or Qdoba would be like a top 5 answer. But yes, I like the chicken Shake Shack sandwich. I love chicken sandwiches now.
Okay. See, I think that if I go to a place like that, I have to get a milkshake. And I don't think I want a milkshake at 2:00 in the afternoon. Usually I'm like that's for me, a milkshake is like a dessert. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well,
I don't know if I want dessert at 2:00 in the afternoon. Like, we get out of here. I'm going to get out of here. It's going to be like 12:30.
Dude, I took my daughter from nursery school. We went and had lunch at a pizza spot by my house, and he was like a worker. I don't know what type of trade he did or whatever, but based on his uniform, dude probably just worked his butt off for 4 or 5 hours, and now he's eating lunch. He got 2. They make this really good stuffed pizza that's almost like a deep dish, how big it is. He had 2 stuffed pizza slices and a big order of fries. And I'm watching him eat, and I'm like, how's he going to go back to work?
Well, he
Be able
probably
to work
burns
after
like
this.
7,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
You know, if you're working in manual labor, like that's a high intensity job. We sit here and we talk about sports. I sit at this desk.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was, he's probably, I don't know. I forget exactly what it was. But yes, he was working a lot harder than I am, a lot harder than you are. We're working very hard.
Yeah,
right now,
sure. You can warp it however you want to warp it.
All right. Also, I saw this. I'm always looking for a new podcast because there's not enough podcasts out there, Tyler. I mean, just what this world needs, another sports podcast by more athletes or former athletes, because there's not enough of them out there. So thank God this one, just what the world needed. And I had to check to make sure this wasn't a joke, and it's not. So Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. Oh, who doesn't love those two? Both former New England Patriot champions, buddies with Tom Brady. I'm sure Tom will join the podcast. They're starting a new podcast, and it's called Dudes on Dudes. It's actually called Dudes on Dudes, launched with iHeartMedia and some other thing. Yeah, so it's called Dudes on Dudes. Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman are finally teammates again. Hosted by best friends and Super Bowl champions, Dudes on Dudes with Gronk and Jules is the show where your favorite dudes talk about their favorite dudes. There it is. Just what, again, I told you, I don't have enough things to listen to or watch, so I'm glad that I'll be able to. Dudes on Dudes. Now, I'm just saying, for people that are searching for Dudes on Dudes, they may not be looking for a sports podcast. So they may be surprised to find Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. Dudes on Dudes with Gronk and Jules is what it's called.
I think a lot of people with Gronk specifically, you either love Gronk or you hate Gronk. You know, I think it's kind of the Gronk fatigue. Like there is starting to set in. I think for a lot of people with the Kelsey, same thing, right? I think Gronk's hysterical. I think that he just brings a lighthearted, comical, almost like frat bro. And I'm not a big, you know me, I'm not like a big frat bro comedy type of guy. But for some reason, I see Gronk and I enjoy his shtick. Like I enjoy his whatever sense of like low. I don't want to call it lowbrow comedy. It's just maybe I don't know what it is. I think that he's entertaining.
I don't dislike Gronk at all, and I do find him funny. He's limited in what he can do because he's such a concrete head. But like he plays well into it. He has fun with it. The Fox, I actually somehow saw it live. It was on the TV. They did a spoof on him. Was it a commercial or a segment? It was a segment. They did a spoof where they were like, yeah. They were pretending it was a real segment, and they were just doing it to bust him. And it was funny, and he handled it well. Julian Edelman's like a weird single white. There's a movie years back, like in the 90s, called Single White Female, where there was this
Did you do something to your mic? Did you just do something to your mic? No. Oh, great. Because it just stopped working. So
should I bring this one over here?
Now it works again.
Oh, there you go. Well, we're just hitting the trifecta for technical problems today. But anyway, like Julian Edelman is single white female to Tom Brady, just like kind of a. Anyway, so I'm sure it'll be weird. I'm sure it'll be interesting. All they want to do is put out clips. They get a couple of clips from each episode. They get it out there. Gronk's, has a pot roast on his head, goes viral. They get a bunch of clicks, and then people tune in or whatever. I don't know if it'll actually work.
That's kind of how.
I know it won't be good.
That's kind of how the landscape of podcasting is nowadays, right? You do your hour-long show, and you take the 5 or 10 or 12 best minutes of the show, and you condense it down, and you post it out. And sometimes it goes viral, and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you post a clip that's, John, if you and I do 4 segments, and you have an interview with BLG as one of them, you and I dive into the Eagles game as another one, and then we just BS for 5 minutes, and we go, haha, that was kind of funny, let's post it. That's the one that's going to blow up.
Right. Yeah, you know what you're looking for, and a lot of these shows now are smart. You go into it wanting to do something where it's like, yeah, it's not like we could have self-serving segments to try to get lots of clicks, which, like, I don't know if everything's necessarily self-serving, but like you kind of go into it and know what you're doing. Yeah, and that's what they do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what's the what's the one what's the one recurring segment, right, that people come back for? That's it, right? That's what you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
Doesn't have to be hard-hitting sports conversation.
It does not, no, because, I mean, listen, that's all that I like to do, hard-hitting sports commentary. I guess Nick Sirianni's on WIP doubling down about bringing his kids to the podium.
So I have a group chat with a couple of buddies, and one of them posted and said, live on 94.1 at 8:40, tune in, and just posted a GIF of a clown. And the one followed up and said, this organization is a bleeping circus.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the thought process of how a lot of people feeling. They won the game on Sunday. They won the football game, and nobody's talking about the game.
Here's what he said. After a win, my kids love going up on that press conference with me. I've learned in this game that it's hard to win, and you have to appreciate the wins. My only intention is my love for my family and wanting them to share that moment with me. I would like to believe that Nick Sirianni didn't bring those kids up there as a shield. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Based on the way the press conference started, based how weird the press conference was, I honestly don't know. I know Nick Sirianni's proud of his family, and I think his intention with his kids are, for the most part, pure. Again, I don't know what happened on Sunday. He loves having his kids around. He wants his kids to remember some of their first memories in life. When Daddy was the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, when we went to the Super Bowl, seeing the games, remember like Brandon Graham remembering his kids when they were little and watching them grow up. I understand it. I really do. But I don't think he realizes, and I'm looking at it from a member of the media and also a father. And Nick and I both have 3 kids, and we have probably about the same age, our kids. Maybe mine are a little bit older than his. Regardless, right? Like, I want my daughters to remember me. They came down and they went to a Brandon Graham show last year with me because I wanted them to remember Daddy doing a show with Brandon Graham. I mean, it's natural. And shout out to the diehards out there. We appreciate you. Thank you, diehards. Like, so those things are important to me as well. I want my kids, when they don't have school, to come down and sit in the chair over here while I do the show, right? Like, I get it. He's a head coach in the National Football League, and that's a post-game press conference. And if you brought your kids up after regular season games before, you shouldn't do it, and it's a bad idea. The kids can still be around. The kids can be waiting for you when you get off the podium. The kids can still do everything else. They don't need to be a part of a post-game press conference for a freaking National Football League game. And if he doesn't understand that, then he's really an idiot. It's pretty simple. I don't understand what the major malfunction is. You're a professional. It's your job to handle them as a professional. That's not with your kids. I mean, Jesus Christ, Google the press conference and watch the press conference and tell me that you don't feel uncomfortable the entire time. It's freaking weird. He's using profanity in front of his children. He's using words that isn't profanity, like ass, but he's saying it over and over. The kids' reaction, they're not going to be scarred or anything from it. I'm not saying he's a bad dad for doing that. They shouldn't have to sit there because dad is important to dad. They're doing everything else. They don't need to sit there with cameras. Like right now, imagine sitting there and looking out, and you're looking at 40 reporters, a bunch of cameras, a bunch of stills, click, click, click. Like, the kids don't need that. It's not necessary. Not necessary after a regular season game. So I wasn't even going to comment on it. He's speaking live on it pretty much as we're doing this right now. So I don't understand what the major malfunction is. This is literally the dumbest conversation we're having. I get that fans don't care or will fight back and say, like, so what? Like as a father and as a member of the media and as a professional that does this for a living, and that's what Nick does. He does this for a living. He's a professional. He's the head coach of the Eagles. It's unnecessary and unprofessional, and he should not take his kids up there like that. Not after a game like that. Absolutely not. Shout out to everybody out there that tunes in live at 8 o'clock, whether it's on Roku or whether it's on YouTube. The chat is vibrant and lively. We love that. So comment and like and subscribe and all those good things. So shout out to you out there. The podcast gets posted every day wherever you find your podcasts. Tyler puts it up there. Philly with John Marks. Follow it, subscribe, rate, give us 5-star reviews. We love that. So we appreciate you. And everybody reach out to me at John, Jon Marks, MARKS Media, at John Marks Media on all the socials. My DMs are open. Email me and everything else. We're back tomorrow at 8 a.m. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.